Hey, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. When you come on, let me know you're there. I would love to say hello to you. I am your host, Karen Bailey, and I hope you guys are having an amazing week. Seems like these weeks are going by so fast, but it's just a blessing to be alive and be in good health and be in your right mind. So we just have to be thankful for every day. So let me know when you guys are on and we'll get started in just a minute. That way I don't hold you too long. Hello, welcome. We're going to get started, just so I don't keep you guys too long. Last week we talked about it's still going to happen, and I hope that encouraged someone to not give up on their dreams, not give up on those desires in their heart, worrying about if they've wasted too much time, if they've gotten, too old to do this or that. You're never too old. As long as you've got breath in your body and you have an honest desire in your heart and you're willing to put in the work, there's nothing you can't do. So don't allow people to limit you. If you want it, just remind yourself it's still going to happen. Don't worry about the naysayers. They're going to be there. You have to get in there, get your grind on, and do what you got to do to make it happen. Well, this week, I want to talk about, imagine that. A lot of times we limit ourselves, just what we believe about ourselves. You show the world what you think of yourself just by how you treat yourself, how you carry yourself, how you prioritize, your needs. Lets people know if you really, truly love yourself, if you really value yourself or not. People can tell that. And people will treat you according to how you treat yourself. So ask yourself this. When was the last time, hey Shakita, when was the last time you took a look at the man or the woman in the mirror and just did an evaluation and just said to yourself, you know what? I need to make some changes. I need to do better than what I'm doing. And there's never going to be a time in your life where you have it all together. So there's always going to be room for improvement. But you're the one that has to decide when you're ready to move, because nobody can change you until you're ready to change. And if you haven't done a self-evaluation, do that, because there's probably so much more in you that you have not even tapped into. But you've got to decide you want more. You want to see more. You want to see what else you can do. You know that you're better than where you are right now. Okay? And so ask yourself, what type of energy am I giving off? A lot of times we don't realize it and we do things subconsciously is the word I'm trying to say. Sometimes we're carrying our emotions and our feelings on our shoulders, and that's what we're projecting to other people. And we wonder why, people don't particularly care to be around us sometimes. If you're one of those people that do not know how to handle your emotions or do not know how to process things and deal with them, when they happen, and you let things linger on and then you build up a grudge about things, or you have a chip on your shoulder, you put that vibe out there, and sometimes you don't even realize it. That's why those friends, those good friends, are so important. They can pull you to the side and say, okay, girl, what is going on with you? You've been snapping at everybody. Your attitude has been bad, this, that, and the other. We all need somebody to check us sometime. And we need to have those people in our lives that are not afraid to come to us and say, hey, you're not acting like yourself. Hey, Francelle, You're not acting like yourself. Hey, what is going on with you? Why are you giving off so much attitude? Because sometimes we can do that because we're trying to deal with so much and we've allowed things to get out of control, our stress level to get too high. We let the kids get on our nerves. We let the job stress us out. Don't allow yourself to walk around giving off bad vibes if that's not who you are. But it takes somebody being honest with you and saying, hey, come on, let's talk about this because something is bothering you. You're not handling something right. So that's why those friends are so important, that you have people that love you enough to tell you when you're wrong, to tell you when you have gotten off your game, or to tell you when you're out of character. And then make sure you're not putting off vibes that say, don't bother me. I've talked to women that are single, and they're like, why does nobody, ask me out, this, that, and the other? And it was one young lady, I just had to tell her because she's so tough. She's so independent. Hey, Carol, she's so independent. She does put off a vibe of, don't come to me, don't talk to me, don't bother me. And that intimidates some men because she never laughs. She's always serious. She's very focused. But sometimes that can be misconstrued as being the kind of person that will snap your head off, if I walk up to her. And men don't want to be rejected. So if they know they've got a chance of being rejected, if you're walking around looking like you mad at the world, even though you're not, check yourself. Remember to smile. Remember to be a lady. Remember to be feminine sometimes. Sometimes we could do so much as an independent woman, we forget how to be feminine. And we take on these masculine traits. And guess what? That's not attractive to the opposite sex. So make sure you're not putting off that don't bother me type vibe. And sometimes we do that subconsciously. Again, you need that friend to be honest with you, to say, girl, you know what? Go get your hair done. Change your clothes. Put on some lipstick. Somebody to let you know that you're not really putting off the friendliest of vibes. You're not putting out that vibe that says, sure, come and talk to me. I'm very friendly. You have to show yourself friendly if you want friends. Okay? And are you saying you're supportive as a friend, but you do more giving your opinion than listening? We talked about being an active listener. That is so important because a lot of times people don't need your opinion. All they need you to do is listen. And you can learn a lot from actually listening. You can actually be more helpful when you listen and you get all the facts instead of jumping to conclusion. Allow yourself to be more supportive and not so much as that person that's always giving out the opinion all the time, because you may not have heard the whole story. And then ask yourself, do you spend more time complaining about the problems in your life than being the solution? A lot of things, hey Latoya, a lot of things in our life could be solved simply if we stop complaining, we analyze what's going on, and we do something about it. But it's easier to go around complaining about the same thing than it is to actually put in the work to fix it. So we need to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, are we that type of person that can't wait, to find somebody to complain to? Or are we the kind of person that says, you know what, this happened, I don't like it, what can I do to fix it? You have to decide what type of image you want to have. And then also ask yourself, is most of your time spent taking rather than also being a giver? If you're always that person that's that opportunist, and I tell people an opportunist is just a person that sees what you have and they think about how it benefits them. That's an opportunist. It's just that easy. Make sure that you're not the type of person that's always the taker in the relationship and you never give, because that's going to get old real quick. You want to make sure that any relationship, friendship, romantic relationship with your children, even with your children, it's a give and take. You want them to do something, they may need you to do something. You have to be willing to give as well as receive. So make sure you're that person that has a balance in all of your relationships. You give when you need to and you receive when you need to. And then ask yourself, when was the last time you sat down and did an actual inventory of your life, where it is right now. I know we think about, what we dreamed about, when we were younger, this, that, and the other. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about sitting down today and just do an inventory of where I am now. What's going on with me now? Am I happy with where my life is right now? Where do I imagine my life? And where is it actually? And then the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what do I like about my life and what don't I like? Make a list, because that way you'll know what you need to fix or what you need to shoot for, what your goal needs to be. If there's something that you don't like in your life, you can fix it. But you've got to be willing to confront whatever it is and sit down and strategize, pray about it, ask for assistance if you need to, if you want that thing to change. You don't have to live your life the same way year after year after year. That's a choice. If there's something that you don't like about your life, get the help that you need to make the change. Okay? That's the first thing you want to look at. Second thing you want to look at when you do inventory is what is working for me and what's not. You can do the same old stuff all the time and it never works for you. But until you decide, okay, this is not working anymore, I want to try something else, you're going to be going around that same circle over and over again. There are people that repeat the same patterns for their whole life. And when you realize something is not working for you, I'll give an example of myself. The kind of men I was married to or dating, they weren't what I imagined for my life. That did not work for me because I chose something that God didn't choose for me. And until I decided to stop doing that, I was repeating the same cycles over and over and over again. I thank God every day for this time by myself. I have been single for 12 years now. And people go, oh my God, how do you stay single? I said, because I want better. Because I'm tired of going around in those same circles. When you get tired, you get tired. You can do anything when you get sick and tired. And I had to get sick and tired of what I was doing in order to accept what God wanted me to do, which was to be single for a while, to learn who I was, to learn who He is, learn who He is to me, learn how to love yourself. All of that has been encompassed in this 12 years. And I thank God for it. Yes, does it get lonely? Of course it does. But I know how to get myself busy. I know how to be productive. I know how to create. I've got so much going on to keep me busy. And I keep my focus where it needs to be. So when you get tired of doing the same old stuff that don't work, change it. But make up your mind you want to do something different and do it. What's the worst that could happen? It don't work? Then you go to something else. That don't work? You go to something else. You never give up. Keep going until you find what does work for you. Okay? Number 3, when you do your inventory, find out what is frustrating you. For those of you that are going home with headaches, going to sleep with headaches, you can't sleep, you're overeating, all of this stuff, or losing a bunch of weight or getting depressed, anxiety, you need to figure out what in the world is frustrating you. You got to take inventory of your own life to try to figure that out. What is frustrating you? What is causing you stress in your life? That's why it's good to write things down, because it keeps you focused if you write it down. Your thinking is not all over the place. Figure out what is frustrating you and why you keep allowing that frustration, hey Pam, into your life. Why do you allow yourself to keep dealing with something that is frustrating you, that's stressing you out, that's keeping you from sleeping, making you eat all the time, or making you not want to eat, keeping you sick, keeping your blood pressure up? Find out what it is, identify what it is, and deal with it. If you have to cut it off, cut it off. If you need help dealing with it, do that. If you need to see a professional and talk to somebody about it, do that. Because your peace is too valuable to not protect it. You got to have your peace. Peace is better than money. I'll tell anybody, you give me a choice of being rich and having my peace. Now that I know better, and now that I've seen what happens to people with all this money, you know what? Give me my peace. Give me my peace and my joy. Because that is quality of life. Money is not quality of life. Money is okay. It can buy you stuff. It can take you places. But you can go places with your peace. You can go places with your joy. A lot of times that folks can't even go that's got money or fame or celebrity, this, that, and the other. Figure out what's frustrating you and what's causing you stress. Write that down and deal with it. And stop allowing that to follow you and be with you day after day after day, because you're going to look back and years are going to be behind you and you're still going to be dealing with the same stuff. You're still going to be having the same pain. You're still going to, not know how you're going to handle this and how you're going to handle that. Something has to break, but it only breaks if you want it to break. Nobody's going to break it for you. You got to decide enough is enough. Number 4, when you're doing inventory, look at where you started this year and how much you've gotten done just since January the 1st. Give yourself a report card sometime and say, you know what? I said at the beginning of the year I was going to do XYZ. Where am I at on XYZ? And why am I not further? You have to inventory yourself. You have to talk to yourself and motivate yourself and encourage yourself. So do an inventory on where you are just since the beginning of the year. We're about to go into April. So we're in our first, quarter, trimester, whatever you want to call it, quarter of the year. What have you done in this first quarter of the year that you said you were going to do when the year started? How far have you gotten on that? And if you've slacked up, try to figure out where you fell off and get back in line. Okay? And then number 5, when you check an inventory, what are you willing to deal with? Now, this is a good one. Ladies, what are you willing to deal with? And what's a deal breaker? You have to draw a line in the sand, because people will do what you allow them to do. And if you allow them to run all over you, guess what? You might as well lay down and let them walk on you, because you set no boundaries. I have set some boundaries in my life. There are some things I will deal with, and some things I'm done with you. I love you, but I'm not fooling with you no more. There are deal breakers in my life because I have too much to lose to allow people to do any and everything to me, in front of me, around me, because of me. No, you're not going to put my name in a bunch of stuff. No, there are things that you have to decide if you're willing to deal with it. Can I work with this? Or is this just too much for me? Am I just not the person to deal with this? And it's okay to say, you know what? I don't think I'm spiritually ready to deal with this. I don't think I have the patience to deal with this. Know yourself. And I had to get there for me because, guys used to want to date me and they had little bitty babies and all of that. I was like, no, I don't do the baby mama drama anymore. I done been there and I done that. I don't have the energy for that anymore. I don't have the desire to go through all of that stuff anymore. When my younger years, I dealt with that and I thought it was going to kill me. I am over that. So that's a deal breaker for me. Go find somebody else that wants all of that. I don't need that kind of drama in my life. So you have to decide what's a deal breaker for you and what you're willing to deal with. Because one thing I'll tell you, what you tolerate in a relationship, when you start letting somebody do something, you kiki it off or you make excuses for them, guess what? It's going to keep on happening. And they're going to expect you to tolerate it because you did before. So understand, you can't switch up and try to get mad later when you've already allowed them to get away with this and become a habit with them, because they're going to have a problem with you now that you say something about it. It's better to speak up early in any type of relationship and let people know what I will tolerate and what I will not. That way they got a choice of if they want to deal with you. Because if they deal with you, they already know, if I do this, she's done with me. And you need to let people know that you value your peace and you value yourself enough to set some boundaries in your life. Okay? And then number 6, where you are in the relationships in your life, where you are in your friendships. You know, those people that you call friends. Where are you at in that relationship? Are y'all still good? Are y'all still close, connected? You know, do you feel like you can trust them? Can they trust you? Do inventory and find out about your circle. Sometimes you need to change your circle. Sometimes you need to eliminate some people from your circle. But if you never do inventory, that's how Judas gets in. Because if you allow any and everybody just because they've been your friend for 20, 30, 40 years, they may have had some things going on with them. You don't know what kind of spirits they got in it. You better do inventory. Because sometimes people will pretend like, you know, they love you just because they've been your friend forever, but they may be harboring all kinds of resentment, jealousy, all of that. You have to check your friends. You have to check and see where their heart is. In your romantic relationships, you guys, you just can't assume that everything's good just because they come home. That doesn't mean everything's good. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Tasha. That doesn't mean everything's good just because that person comes home to you. Do your inventory and check your relationship. Talk to that person and ask them, honey, how are we doing? Are we good? Is there anything you need from me that I'm not providing? And vice versa. Let that person know that you need to check on me too. Don't just assume because I'm here when you get home that I'm okay. I'm not always okay. Sometimes I need you to check on me and make sure that there's not something that I feel like is lacking from our relationship. So do inventory on your close relationships and your family relationships. And especially with your children, you guys. You know, we just assume so much. You know, we don't know what those kids are going through at school. We don't know who's bullying them. We don't know who's trying to offer them drugs. We don't know who's trying to have sex with them. We don't know those things. We don't know, but we assume so much. Just cause little Keisha, little Johnny come home with their little books and go in the room. You better find out what's going on with that child. You don't know what her friends might be being ugly to her. You know, he might have gotten beat up, you know, by the boys on the football team. You know, somebody's pushing him around. Stop just assuming that everybody's okay. Open your mouth. If you love that person, open your mouth and talk to them. Open that door for them to have somebody to vent to be able to have a safe place. You know, it's nothing like coming home, and I'm a witness to this because as a little girl, my mother was a different kind of mother because she was young. It's a lot of stuff she just did not know. So it was a lot of stuff I could not tell. She had no idea all the stuff that I had gone through. She didn't know that I had been date raped. I never told my mother that because I couldn't tell her that. I was in agony over that for years. My mother still to this day knows nothing about it. So when I tell you, don't assume that people are okay. If you love them, do a check. Do your inventory. Open that door. They may not even tell you anything right then, but they're going to remember that you opened that door and you said, baby, if there's anything you want to talk to me about, come talk to me anytime. They're going to come back when they're ready. But if you never open that door, you never let them know that you care about their well-being, they're going to be like me. They're going to keep that stuff to themselves and they're going to agonize, and it's going to affect a lot of decisions that they make, you know, in their adult life. So understand, we have to do an inventory on our relationships because people are hurting right around us and they're kikiing and smiling and looking good and they're eating up inside. And that's why people are always shocked when somebody commits suicide. They're like, well, you know, he was always a happy person. No, he wasn't. He just knew how to fake it and shake it because nobody takes the time to invest in people anymore. And we got to do better than that. So inventory on your relationships. Take inventory on how you're doing in terms of managing your money, your finances. You know, a lot of times we say at the beginning of the year, I'm going to come out of debt. I'm going to this. I'm going to that. Where are you at concerning that? Are you doing what you said you was going to do to try to make your finances a little bit better this year? You have control over that. Are you just spending like crazy? You know, everything you see, you got to have some discipline. If you want a better life, you have got to have some self Discipline. I came out of so much debt. It's ridiculous. When I got divorced, I was left with so much debt. It was ridiculous. I cried and I cried, and God said, "What you crying for? It's going to be all right." He helped me strategize, but it required me to sacrifice. I had to take my lunch. I couldn't just go through a drive-through. I did that for years. I worked 2 jobs for years. But you know what? Slowly but surely, I came completely out of all of that debt. So it can be done if you're willing to put in the sweat, the tears, and the sacrifice. But check yourself and see where you are concerning your finances, because sometimes you're your own worst enemy. Quit trying to keep up with everybody. Everybody ain't doing what they say. Some folks got probably $200,000, $300,000 in credit card debt. You don't even know it. And they on cruises. They over in the Bahamas. They doing everything over in Hawaii. All of that on a credit card. And you trying to follow suit, looking crazy. You better stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and do your own life. I'm telling you, I don't get impressed by people anymore. I'll clap for you. I'm happy for you. You go wherever you got to go, because I know where my finances will take me. I know what I need to do to keep me good where I'm at right now. Okay? All right. Number 9, ask yourself when you're doing your inventory, do you have a growth plan? And I said growth. We have to stop thinking just because we're grown that we don't need to grow anymore. We all need to grow. There's some things in us. We all got some childish ways we still need to get out of us. We all got some old thinking. The world is changing. Some of that old thinking is not going to move forward in all the changes that's going on. So we've got to grow. We've got to learn. We've got to learn to shift some things in our lives, and that requires growth. And a growth plan is just the framework that you can create to guide the decisions that you make in your life. Just like learning to overcome being lazy. You can get complacent, you can get lazy. It takes a lot to overcome lazy. Once you get in that pattern of just, putting stuff off, it takes growth to focus on something and get something done. And learning to be more polite and more considerate, and not let people change who you are. Nowadays people are always trying to test you, to see if you are what you say you are. You got to grow to be able to stay in your character and not let people affect you. Because people will try you because they want you to act a fool. I had that happen to me not too long ago. You want to try me to see if I'm still the Karen that everybody thinks that I am. Yeah, I am. And I dealt with you accordingly. And I didn't come out of my character. So you have to grow to that. That's not something that's going to happen overnight. And growth means just because you get angry don't mean you act out. You got to learn how to control your anger. That is growth. You can't make decisions out of anger. You can't just do stuff just because somebody upset you and make you mad. You got to grow up. And we all have to understand our actions have consequences. So when you're growing and get your growth plan, you're going to look at, okay, if I do this, what is it going to cost me? That's a growth plan. When you can look at the action and what the possible outcome is going to be if you do that, and you can reconsider some things, that means you're growing and being more responsible and keeping your word. All of that's about growing. That's about growth. Because all of us have not been a person of our word. Some of us have let people down. And then as we grow, as we get more mature, we realize how much hurt that causes. We realize how much damage it caused when we didn't keep our word, when somebody depended on us and we let them down. That causes damage for years, depending on what it is. And so you're more careful and you're more considerate, and you're going to be a person that's more responsible about keeping your word. And learning new things. That's all about growing. Learning new skills. It's all about growing. Learning to communicate effectively, you guys. That takes growth. To not argue with people. I have learned so much how not to argue with people. I will walk away from you in a minute and I'll say, you know what? Let's just leave it there. We'll just agree to disagree. That takes growth to walk away. Even when you know you're right or feel like you're right, is it worth your peace? You have to consider those things. How important is it for you to be right? And that's growth. So you have to learn how to communicate effectively and realize that everybody's not going to agree with you, but that doesn't mean that you part ways being mad. Sometimes you really do have to agree to disagree and change the subject. That's growth. That's growth. So we all need to work on our growth plan. We all know the little areas, the little triggers, the little silly things that we still do. We've got to try to grow out of those things, okay? And then most people, don't even look at their life that way. They're just trying to get by. They're just trying to make it from day to day. They're just trying to work, but they're missing so much out on life. Work is necessary to pay your bills, but don't forget to live while you're working. I was telling one of my friends, and he works all the time. I was like, look, you got to live. You do all that work, but you don't enjoy yourself. That's not really living. You just working to pay bills. And it doesn't have to be like that. You got to set aside time to balance your life out, or you're going to be miserable. And so we all need to just kind of take a look and do inventory on our life and imagine what our life would be like if we examined ourselves. Even in the Bible, it talks about not pointing a finger at other people because the other fingers are pointed back at you, simply because you can't be focusing on what somebody else is doing. We all got stuff within ourselves we need to work on. So imagine if everybody just worked on themselves. Nobody would have time to talk about anybody else. Okay? And let's talk about personal development goals. First one is you got to learn how to visualize how you want your life to be. Start writing down how you want your life to be. Visualize something better. If you don't like where you are and you want better, visualize it. See yourself better than where you are. See yourself in the place that you want it to be. Write it down. That gives you something to focus on. That gives you something to pray about. And that gives you something to get excited about. Because when you write it down and you make up your mind, this is what I want to do with my life, it gives you that extra oomph that you need to keep going. And number two, you got to avoid negative thoughts. That means negativity from yourself and negativity from other people. That's why I tell y'all can't tell everybody everything that you want to do. Because some people don't want to see you better. And it's sad to say, a lot of people, and sometimes it's your own family, don't want to see you better. So you need to ask God to show you who you can share your ideas with, who you can share your dreams with. And sometimes He just wants you to keep it between you and Him and let them see the outcome for themselves. You don't need to run off and tell everything. So understand, you invite those negative thoughts when you talk to the wrong people, when you share things with the wrong people. Because if somebody's truly for you, they don't have no negative thoughts for you. And so you have got to learn your circle to know that who is on your side and who's not. So avoid negative thoughts and stop saying what you can't do. The only reason you can't do it is because you're not trying. So stop telling yourself that you're not good enough. Stop telling yourself that you're not smart enough. Those words are not God's words. Those words are words the enemy has put in your mouth about yourself. You got to see yourself better. And you got to talk about yourself better. And number three, you got to learn to meditate sometimes. Sometimes you got to just get quiet, close your eyes, and just meditate on the goodness of God and ask God to give you the strength to do whatever you're trying to do. Sometimes you just got to shut it down and get you some quiet time and just meditate on it and ask God to help order your steps. Guide me the way I'm supposed to go. I think I'm supposed to do this, but am I really supposed to do this? Help me to do the right thing so that I can get where I'm trying to get to. That requires quiet time and alone time with God. So you got to make time to meditate on those things that you're trying to do in your life. Number four, you've got to be resilient. You can't give up just because it gets hard. Because if you're going to give up when it gets hard, baby, you ain't going to get very far. Because I promise you, anything you try to do to better your life, the enemy is going to come and try to get somebody in your life or something that you're attracted to pull you and distract you away from it, because he does not need you to get better. He needs you to stay where you are or go back. He wants you to go back. And so you have to decide for yourself that that's not what you want. And if it gets hard, you're going to keep on pushing. You just have to keep going. And number 5, only compete with yourself. Quit looking at everybody else and what everybody else got going on. Like I say, y'all don't know half the story on some of these people. You can find out later. It's amazing the stuff you find out that people do to get what they got. And some of the stuff that they're going through that they're not showing on social media. So stop looking at everybody else. Everybody else on there that look happy ain't happy. Everybody in all them pictures cheesing, they might be going through hell at home. So stop competing with other people. Run your own race and live the life that God has set out just for you. Number 6, set small goals. Challenge yourself. When you succeed in one thing, believe in yourself that you can take it just a little bit further. I did good on this, but I could have done a little bit more. And if you realize you could have done a little bit more, do a little more. And then just a little bit more and a little bit more. So set small challenges for yourself. Compete with yourself. Be better than the person you were last year. Number 7, be persistent. Don't take no for an answer. If you believe in something, if one door closes, go to another. That door closes, go to another. It takes patience, but you gotta keep moving. Everybody's not going to cheer for you. Everybody's not going to help you, but somebody out there will see your effort and they will try to help you get to where you need to be. And it's probably somebody that you wouldn't even expect. So don't be expecting certain things from certain people, because you're going to get your hopes up. Because like I say, everybody doesn't want you to excel past them. So a lot of times that person that you think you can count on, they're going to be there. That's my ride or die. When you start doing better than them, they're going to switch up on you. They're going to disappear on you. They're going to get too busy. They're going to stop answering your calls. They're going to stop returning your text. Expect that. When you're getting better, expect that you're going to have some opposition. We talked about that last week. Them ops. You got to expect opposition when you're trying to do better. And number 8, celebrate your victories. Even the smallest one, celebrate yourself. Do something nice for yourself. Buy yourself something nice. You do all that working, paying them bills, taking care of them kids, taking care of your house. Do something for yourself sometime. Reward yourself. Whatever it is. I reward myself with massages, y'all. After I've worked so much, and might be every 3 or 4 months, but I reward myself with massages. I reward myself, just going to someplace nice for dinner. You ain't got to spend a whole lot of money, but spend a significant amount of it on you and just celebrate your victories. Don't wait for anybody else to celebrate you. You celebrate yourself. Okay? So those are the 8 things that you do when you're trying to develop personal goals to make your life better. And then let's move on. These are 3 areas that we all need to look at for our personal growth. Number 1, your character. Look at your character. When you talk about personal growth, how has your character changed over these years? Has it gotten better? Have you slipped back into some of them old ways? Have you become more open-minded? Are you more willing to accept people that are different from you? Ask yourself these things. Is my character getting better as I get older? It should get better as you get older. You should not be slipping back into acting how you were back in your 20s, just getting straight up ignorant. You outgrow those things. You should be outgrowing that thing, all that chaos, all that strife. You should be outgrowing those things, because as we get older, we realize we've got more time behind us than we probably got in front of us. Nobody knows how many years we have, but if you were to do the math, If you do it by statistics, most of us, we've lived the best of our lives as far as our youth. Now we're in that other season where wisdom, hey Samantha, where wisdom needs to be kicking in. Anybody that's over 30, wisdom needs to be kicking in. You got up to about 30 to be kind of foolish and try to find your ways, this, that, and the other. But by 30, you should have learned something. By 30, you should have a little bit of wisdom. By 40, you should have a lot of wisdom. You should have really went through some things by the time you're 40. And by the time you're 50, you ought to be able to teach somebody else how to make it. You ought to be able to teach somebody else how to be patient. You ought to be able to teach other people how to get to where you are now. So that requires growth. So your character needs to be growing as you grow. And it needs to be getting better as you get older or something is wrong. How is your focus? Are you learning to ignore distractions? Are you learning how to set a goal and stay with it and follow it through? That's all part of growing up. That's all part of maturity. You start something, you finish it. That's maturity. And so check your character and see if you're going in the right direction. And then you should also have social growth to where you're able to communicate with other people. People shouldn't have to look like you in order for you to want to talk to them. You shouldn't go to a party and only gravitate to people with your skin color. People do stuff like that. You ought to be able to mix and mingle at your age with anybody. You ought to be open, to learn about other cultures, open to be able to communicate freely with anybody. So check your growth in that area. If your social growth still has you limited to your own little tribe, something is wrong. And then what about your spiritual growth? Are you in a better place with God than you were last year? Are you in a better relationship? That should also improve as you get older. Your spiritual walk should get better. Your emotional growth should also get better as you get older. You got to learn how to shake some stuff off. And as you get older, you're supposed to know how to handle your emotions a little bit better. You can't just react to everything that's done to you. You can't react to what people say to you. You can't react to people leaving you, because as you mature, you realize that's going to happen. That's normal. People outgrow you and you outgrow them. That's okay. Quit holding grudges about people that left you. That person did what they were supposed to do. If they left you, they were in your life for whatever they were supposed to do. Then their time was up, so they moved on. Because honestly, if somebody's supposed to be with you, they're not going nowhere. If God put them there, they're not going nowhere. So allow people to move in and out of your life and quit holding grudges. Quit having bad feelings because somebody doesn't want to be in your life anymore. Those breakups, let those people go and move on and find the person they're supposed to be with. God may be trying to make room for the person that he's trying to send you, and that person was in the way. So we have to look at things differently and stop taking things so personal. It's better that people leave you before they hurt you. I would definitely prefer that a man break up in a relationship with me before he hurt me. The opposite usually happens. They try to hold on to you while they're hurting you at the same time. But as we get older, we should want them to move on if they're not going to be good for us. So we just have to grow up in that area, you guys. Physical growth, we ought to all be trying to take better care of our bodies. We ought to all be conscious of our health. We ought to be going for our physicals. We ought to be, just in tune with our bodies. When you're young, you're reckless, you think, nothing can happen to you. But as you get older, you realize this body is all you're going to get, this one. You're not going to get another one. And if you let this thing break down bad enough, you're going to have something to deal with. And as you get older, you start realizing, I better take better care of myself to prevent this. I better listen to my doctor and follow my diet, or this is going to happen. You heed the warnings as you get older, as you mature. Because you have to understand, you got to make this body last. And how broken down it is, it's going to be up to you most of the time. And so when you mature and when you really get your mind right, you'll start taking care of yourself because you want your body to last as long as you do. Okay? Because one of the things I've always said is I pray that if God let me live to be 99, that I'm able to go walking every day. I'm able to prepare my own food. I'm able to take my own bath. I'm able to live in my own house and not be a burden on anybody else. And I want to have my right mind. So you have to do what it takes to try to preserve your body so that it can last for the long run. Okay? So that's your physical growth. And then your skill set, you ought to be learning something new every year. You shouldn't be doing the same stuff every year. Every year you need to challenge yourself to learn how to do one thing new every year. Just one thing new, no matter what it is. I don't care if it's painting. I don't care if it's, sewing. I don't care what it is. Hey, Dana, learn how to do one thing new every year. It's good for you, for your personal growth. Okay? And then 3, learn your capabilities. Learn what you can and cannot do and maximize those things that you can do. When you know what you can do, find ways, look up ways, study ways of being even better at that thing that you do really good. Maximize it. Don't just be mediocre. Take it to the next level. And that's where your personal growth will come in. Okay? And then steps to have the life that you imagine that you deserve. It takes steps to do that. That doesn't just happen to you overnight. Prince Charming is not going to come in and scoop you up. $1 million is not going to fall on top of your head. It takes steps to get to the life that you imagine for yourself and that you know that you deserve. It's going to require some work from you. Number 1, you need to pray about what you see for yourself. Whatever you imagine for yourself, pray to God and make sure that what you're seeing for you, that you think that you want, or the life you think you should have, make sure it lines up with God's will. Make sure it lines up, because there's nothing worse, like the Bible says, to gain the world and lose your soul. There's nothing worse to want all this money, riches, and fame and not realize all the stuff you got to do and all the stuff you got to go against that you know better than to do in order to keep it. Ask them folks in Hollywood. They done some stuff. They talk about they sold to the devil, some of them. And they confess that. So you have to understand, make sure what you're imagining for your life is also what God has in line for you. You want your will to line up with God's will, because that's the only way it's going to come to pass and be something that's going to last. Anybody can get fame for a little while. I was talking to a friend today, about people that got that quick fame, or famous athletes, or this, that, and the other, and how, when they couldn't do what they used to do to make all that money for all these people, when they fell off, nobody was there for them. A lot of them are living on the street, homeless. But that's what can happen to you when you don't line your will up with God's will. Yeah, it sounds good when somebody's presenting you with these opportunities to make all of this money, but they don't tell you that when you can't do what they need you to do anymore, that they're going to drop you. And that they're going to leave you without assistance, and they're going to leave you without hope, and they're going to take everything they can back from you, whatever you have left. That has happened to people, you guys, because they didn't line up what they saw for themselves with God's will. Number 2, you have to change your mindset about some things. You're not always right. So you have to see yourself differently. You have to see yourself the way God sees you. And when it comes to changing your mindset, when something comes against you or an obstacle, you have to redirect yourself and remind yourself that this happened for a reason. Whatever this is that come up in front of you, whatever this is that's trying to stop you from getting where you need to get to, it has a root cause. Something you did most of the time caused whatever obstacle is standing up in front of you. Change your mindset to make yourself understand Sometimes God allows those things to happen in your life for you to use those things as stepping stones. Sometimes he needs you to be a little bit tougher than where you are. Or sometimes he needs to humble you because you think you're too much. And sometimes he'll let some things come against you to help you get your mind right. Because sometimes we get a little bit of position, a little bit of power, a few little letters behind our name, and we forget who we are. And we forget that you're only where you are because God allowed you to be there. And so God has to allow some obstacles to come in your way so that you learn how to be humble, learn how to be grateful, and get back in your place. And so he has to change your mind sometimes, but you have to learn to quit crying over spilt milk. If it happened, it happened. If something didn't work, analyze it and figure out how it happened, your part in the situation, because you had a part. And use it as a stepping stone to move forward. Use it as a way to go to the next level. So you can't always look at things as what they are just because it was something that you didn't want to happen. Sometimes it's something God allowed to happen to try to help you be a better person. And then number 3, invest in mentorship. Don't always be about you all the time. Invest in helping somebody else sometimes. Don't always be so caught up in your own little world. I got mine. Everybody else need to try to figure out how to get their own. If you can help your sister or brother get to the next level, help them. Invest in membership. Give them your time. Teach them some things. Help them to understand. Connect them with the right people. Don't always be just about yourself all the time. So invest in mentorship. And number 4, invest in yourself and ensure that whoever's in your life, especially a significant other, make sure they invest in you too. Because there's nothing like being in a relationship with somebody, you trying to get somewhere and that person don't believe in you. The person that's closest to you don't believe in you. You make sure that person is invested in you and that they are supportive for you, because that should be your first line of support, is that person that you have allowed yourself to be in a romantic relationship with. So make sure that person is in your corner. And if they're not in your corner, you might want to reevaluate that relationship. Number 5, create a plan that you can start today. Quit always putting off stuff. Oh, I'm going to do this in 6 months. I'm going to do this next year. Start something today that can change your life. Create a plan to where you can start something today, even just a little step today. Even if it means I'm going to get up 10 minutes early, and do some jumping jacks. I'm going to do some sit-ups, or I'm going to, read my Bible for 10 minutes before I start getting ready in the morning. Whatever your goal is, make a plan that you can start today and stop putting stuff off as if you've got all that time ahead of you. You don't know if you've got tomorrow left. None of us do. So you need to start whatever you're going to start today to try to make your life better. And like I said before, everybody is not going to cheer for you when you try to do better. So get that out of your head, that all those people that say they love you is going to be there for you. You better get that out of your head, and understand that when you're trying to grow and get your life on track, somebody ain't going to be happy about it. And I know that's hard to imagine, but anybody out there, I know y'all know that it's real. Y'all have experienced it. And also, you have to understand that you have to make up your mind to do whatever you're going to do it just for you. Don't do it to try to impress nobody. Don't do it to try to outdo nobody or show somebody up or show them that they should have never left you. The best thing you can do when somebody has mistreated you in a relationship or broken off with you or caused you to break off with them, on bad terms, whatever, best thing you can do is be the best person you can be and let them see that because they left you or because they took you through whatever they took through, it didn't stop anything. It didn't stop you from growing. It didn't stop you from enjoying your life. You don't have to sit around and be mad at people that hurt you. Just live your best life. That'll hurt them when they see that. You don't have to get revenge on people. You let God deal with that. The best thing you can do is let somebody see you moving on with your life, that you're good with or without them. they'll be all right. They're going to sulk about it. They're going to have an issue with it, but that's okay. Live your best life and leave all that animosity, to everybody else. And then also you have to understand that people will change on you. That sometimes they'll start out good with you, and be prepared for that. Don't put so much, not emphasis, so much trust in one person. Don't put so much expectation in people, because people will change their minds, and they should be allowed to change their minds. Sometimes the vision God has and showed you is not for them. Maybe they're just supposed to help you with it a little bit, but then we get hurt when they fall off. Stop putting what God has shown you onto somebody else. God is going to send the right people into your life to pick up the slack. But don't be so quick to depend on people so much, because that's how you get your feelings hurt. And that's how you end up harboring, bad feelings about other people. So just put your trust in God, and just understand people are going to do people stuff, and just forgive them and go on. And then your gift will make room for you. Whatever God has gifted you with, if you use it properly, or if you use it to the glory of God, He's going to make a way for you to be able to use that gift. And then also understand that the only way you lose in life is if you give up. If you never give up, even if one thing didn't work and you move on to the next, it didn't work, but you keep going, you're not losing, you're learning. You're getting learning experiences. Just because something didn't work out, just because that relationship ended, just because, this child didn't turn out the way you wanted them to, you didn't lose. You just had a life lesson. You're just learning. So understand, don't give up just because things aren't going your way or not going the way you expected them to go. And also understand, anything worth doing or that has a potential for greatness will not be easy. So don't expect to imagine great things for your life and think you're going to just slide into it. You're going to have to put in some work, and it's going to be some blood, some sweat, and some tears, and some sacrifice that's going to come with that. Anything great that's going to happen in your life, it's going to require commitment and sacrifice. It goes hand in hand. And the last thing I want you to remember is that God is for you, and He is more than the whole world against you. So imagine that, and take comfort in knowing that God is on your side, even when it doesn't feel like anybody else is. Hold on to the fact that God is for you. God is always for you. And my final thought is, imagine if we all decided to live up to our God-given potential for being here on this earth. Imagine the peace and the joy that would be, just for people minding their own business and doing what they're supposed to do, to play their part in this life. Imagine if we all understood the assignment and walked it out, and how much more people would be happy, how much more fulfilling life would be, and how much more could get done, and how much more unified people would be. God did not create you to impress people. You were meant to be a world changer. So imagine that. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate y'all. I pray that you guys have a great rest of the week. And if you're celebrating any, I know there's different fasting and praying going on for Easter. So if you're doing any of that, Godspeed, and God bless you in doing that. As we get close to the Easter holiday, just focus on how much God has done for each and every one of us. Just imagine, if God had given up on us and decided, I don't even want a relationship with them. They're so sinful. I don't even care, if they can come to me. I don't want them. But God didn't. He wants a relationship with us. And that's why He sent His Son to try to get things right so that we could go to Him. We would have an advocate. So just appreciate the holiday, you guys, and think about just how good God has been to each and every one of us. And just remember the sacrifices that have been made on your behalf. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys, and have a great weekend, and everybody stay safe. Bye-bye.